Takadosh Boker Or, Masechet Gittin Daf Bet Amud Aleph 32a1. We're starting Perek Rabbi, the 4th chapter. The Mishnah says, "Hasholeach get liishto v'higia b'shaliach." Imagine right now somebody sends a get to his wife, right? And the husband gets the shaliach, or sheshalach acharav shaliach, or he sent another shaliach. V'amar lo, and he told him, "Get shenatati lecha batelhu." The get that I just gave you is annulled. Says the Mishnah, "Hare ze batel." It is annulled. Okay, fine. Kidem etzel ishto. Right? What happens right now if, right, he gets to the wife first, right? Which means, right, that at the end of the day, he gets to the wife first. Or he sent a shliach to her, and he tells her, "Get shalachti lecha batelu." The get that I sent you is batel. Hare ze batel. This is batel. Okay? Get liyada. But once it gets to her hand, so one more time. The guy comes and he sends a get. He gets to the shaliach, or he sent a shaliach to his shaliach, right? And he gets there first, and he tells him it's batel, it's batel. If he got to the wife first, and he tells the wife that the get that I'm sending to you, or he sent a shaliach to the wife, the get that I'm sending to you is batel, it's also batel. However, though, if he didn't get the chance, and the get already got to her hands, then he cannot annul it anymore. Barishona, says the Mishnah, Barishona at the beginning, at the beginning, they used to make another bedin. And they used to annul it wherever he was. Meaning, at the beginning, they didn't have to come, start running after the shaliach. He sent the get. He comes in front of a bedin, and he says in front of a bedin, I annul the get. That's all he has to do. However, though, Rabbi Gamliel went and he made a special takana that they don't do that. You can't do that anymore. Why? Tikkun olam. Because if the husband was able to do such a thing, so then maybe it could be that they don't know about it. They give over the get. The husband already annulled the get where he was. And then she's going to go start to, want to get married. Balagan. Really, very much, she's still married. So because of that, they made a special takana. Doesn't help. Okay? Until here we're clear in the Mishnah? There's the Gemara. Higio lo ketani. The Mishnah does not say higio. So it's mashma that he ran after it b'chavana in order to get. Ela higia. What does it mean higia? Higia means afilu mila. So it's mashma that even if the husband got the shaliach stam, like bakrai, meaning he wasn't like he went running after the guy. He all of a sudden met up with the guy. Right? For example, right? Imagine like I told you the case, right? It's in the hands of John Paul. It was a check. We're not talking about get, right? It's good things. It's a check. Good. Yeah? So what happened was, right, it was a check for the Bet Knesset, right? And what happens is, right, is that all of a sudden, the guy sees John Paul in the middle of the street. He asks John Paul, weren't you supposed to go and get? I know, I got busy, this, that. I was bringing up the breakfast, right? Some people have to say other things, right? All these different things. So what happens? Same halacha. Meaning it's not that the chavana he had to run after the shaliach. Even if he happened to find the shaliach again, and he tells the shaliach, listen, I'm annulling it, it's annulled. Okay? That's what the Gemara says. Velo amnina, we're not going to say, letza'arua, right? Letza'ura udikamechaven. That the kavanah of the husband is stam letza'erota and not to be mevatel mamash. Meaning if he's already telling the shaliach, listen, I'm being mevatel, it's batelun vutal. We're not going to say, you know what? He's doing it purposely to tease her. He's doing purposely to cause her to suffer. We don't say that. He's actually annulling the get. Okay? Fine. Or he sent a shaliach after him. Lamali. Why do we need this? What's the chidush that we say that whether he got to the shaliach or he sent a shaliach to the shaliach? Yeah? Why do we need this? So says the Gemara, I would have thought to say, I would have thought to say, 1 second, if it's he himself, he has the power to renounce his power of attorney, if you want to call it, right? But if you're going to tell me now, right, if you're going to tell me now that we're talking about, right, that we're talking about one shaliach to annul another shaliach, I would have thought to say no. Why? Who told you that the second shaliach is stronger than the first shaliach? Nobody told you that. So because of that, right? It comes and it says a what? No. We do say that one is going to be stronger than the other one.
This is the power of the husband.
What happens if the husband got to the wife first? Meaning he comes, he sent the get, and now he can't locate the shaliach. So what does he do? He says, I know where the shaliach is going. So he goes straight to the wife, right? And before the shaliach gives it to the wife, he comes and he tells the wife, what you're going to get into your hand is an alb. Yeah, he says it. So says the Gemara, Lamali, why do I need this case? Obviously, he could annul it, and that's it. So says the Gemara, I would have thought to say, Kilo amnin letzeura hu kamechaven, hanemile l'shliach, aval ledida, but that letzeura kamechaven. I would have thought to say, maybe this svara that he doesn't want to make her suffer is only to do with a shaliach, but to do with her, if he's going to come and he's going to do this, for sure he's trying to make her suffer. For sure he's trying to tease her, trying to get to her. So for sure he's trying to make her suffer. Kamash Malan comes to teach you, right? No, that I would have thought to say that in a shaliach he's not doing that. He's really be'emet it. But to do with her, for sure he's actually trying to make her angry or to try to get her, right? So he says, Kamash Malan comes to teach you, no, that we actually say it's batel also. Right? That what? He's allowed to annul it, there's no problem whatsoever. Okay? Fine. Also shalach, it's shaliach, the same case. He sent to her a shaliach. And not only he himself. Even he sent her a shaliach, it's going to be the same thing. Lamali, why do I need this case? I would have thought to say, I would have thought to say, listen, if he's already taken the trouble to run to the woman, right, to try to get there before the shaliach, he's not trying to tease her. Mamash, he's running, sometimes, if he's sending a shaliach, it could be in another city. So now here he can't locate the shaliach. He has to travel all the way over there, try to make sure he gets there before the shaliach. No. He's not going to do it to l'tzairota, to start the. What if it's just a shaliach? What does he care? Right? He sent one shaliach. Now I'm going to send another shaliach. What does he care? So no. That obviously we're not saying that he's going to do that l'tzairota, but rather be'emet he wants to null it. However, though, said the Mishnah, im she'igia get liada, eno yachol batlan. What does that mean? The second it gets to her hands, kaddish. There's nothing what to do anymore. Why? Because it's it. It got to her hands. Says the Gemara, Shita, obviously. Yeah, it's obvious. So says the Gemara, what are we dealing with? Temehadir alei meikara levetule. The husband went afterwards, right? Which means even before the get got to her hands, he went and he tried to be annulling it. So I would have thought to say, I would have thought to say, listen, he already annulled it. He tried annulling it. Kamashmanan comes teach you the Mishnah that the get is not batelu like that. You cannot be mevatel a get like that, but rather what? You have to actually come and you have to annul it. And therefore, the fact that it got to her hands, it's it. He tried annulling it before. No, it doesn't help. It doesn't help. Okay? Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in a Braita. What happens if he says, Batelhu? It's Batel. Or Iyav Shibo. I don't want it. Tevarav Kayamin. The get is Batel. But if he says Pasulhu or Eno get, Lo Amar Klum. Meaning he has no power to disqualify the get. Say that it's Pasul or to say that it's not a get. That he has no power. Because the get is a get. He doesn't have that power. A rabbi could do that. Because a rabbi could disqualify a get and said it wasn't a kosher get. But he has no power to disqualify the get or say that it's not a get. What he has the power to do is to annul the get. That's what he has. Okay? But other than that, he cannot do that. Lememra de batel, lishna de lebatil mashma. Are you going to tell me now that when you use the terminology batel, right, it means that your mamash should be batel, that it should be batel? Amar Rabbi Baravu, Amar Rav Sheshat. Says Rabbi Baravu in the name of Rav Sheshat. Some people say it's Amar Rabbi Baravu. מקבל מתנה שאמר לאחר, אולי לאחר שבת המתנה לידו. מתנה זו מבוטלת, or תיבטל, or יבשיבה, לא אמר כלום. Imagine right now, you receive the present. Right? And what happens is that after the present already got to your hand, right? You come and you say, מתנה זו מבוטלת, or תיבטל, or יבשיבה, לא אמר כלום. It's still a good present. Because these lishonot are not a mashma'ut that it's going to be, right? These lishonot are that the matana should be batel mikan ve'elach, from now onwards. once you already receive it, that's it. It doesn't help anymore. You can't have the power to annul it, right? You could only annul it from now onwards, that lashon, not retroactively. Betelahi, but if you say betelahi or ena matana, then the v'rav kaimim, then it is good, because the betelahi means that it was already batel. It's in the past tense. It's not from now on. It's in the past. Or ena matana. So therefore, you're saying that it was already batel from the beginning. So almas, you see from here, batel mikara mashma. That the word batel, it's mashma that it was already batel, right? That's what he's saying over here, right? That batel, who is mashmauto, mikam ve'elach. So how does it help to be batel the get? It doesn't make sense. Yeah? So Amar Abaye comes and he says, batel shte leshonot mashma. Lamebet amubet, 32b. He says batel is mashma both of them. What does it mean both of them? Mashma de batel, right? Which means that it was already batel. Mashma de libatil, and it's mashma in the future as well, meaning it's in past tense and also in future tense. So therefore, legabe get, to do with a get, lishna de behani bekama. When he says this, when he uses this terminology of batel, it has to be a lashon which is mu'il, and therefore it means in the future. Batel yehe, it should be batel in the future, right? He cannot annul it previously, because whatever was done previously was good. Right? He can't annul that. If he, like what Mordechai said, he came to the Bedin, kosher adin, it was written with a good sofer, he can't annul it from before. What of before? Everything was done properly. How does he annul it before? He can't annul it before. He can annul it from now onwards. So therefore, to do with a get, he meant the lashon, he meant the terminology, which is helping, which is what from now onwards. But to do with the matana, right? It's also lishne bahani kamar. What does it mean lishne bahani? Lishna de Mahani Kamar means it's only lashon which is going to help, which is what? It's already going to be batla min lechatchila, from the beginning, which means it was never a present. Okay? That's the two differences between them. Amar Abaye comes and says, Niketinan, we have a masoret, right? Remember that whenever it says Niketinan, it means that we have a masoret from our rabbis. Yeah? Yeah, it's not a minhag b'diuk, but it's a masoret, right? We have a tradition. Right? And it says over here like this. It says, we have this tradition. Shliach mataneh hareu ki shliach haget. Right? He says, makat is to grab on. We grabbed on something. Yeah? So he says, shliach mataneh is like a shliach get, which means, just like somebody that sends a get to his wife, he can even batil the shlichut before it gets to her hand. So too, if you're going to send a shliach to the friend, you can annul it before it gets to their hands. Nafkamina. What's the nafkamina? Leolech lav kezachidami. But if somebody comes and he tells a shliach, take this to somebody, it's not that he's saying that he's already been mizaket, which means like this, right? I don't remember who it was that brought down the story of the second you gave it to the post. I mean, you brought it to me. So, okay. The second that you give it to the post, kilu, it's irreversible. Because you give it to the guy in the post office, he already sent it, even if it's still there, and you can see it. The second that you put it, that's it. It doesn't help. Yeah, it's already sent, right? Now, what about when I come and I say, take this to Mr. So-and-so? So we just said over here. Exactly. So he says, Holech is not like Zachedam. Meaning, if I come and I tell John Paul, listen, take this to somebody, it does not mean that he is acquiring it for that person. So Holech means take this to somebody, is not like Zachedam. It's not like he was already mizaketze to the person. And therefore, that's enough kamina to do with that the shliach of matana is like shliach aget, and you could annul it. So Ravina Ashkechel Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. So Ravina found Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, the Tali B'kai, right, Bivra de Dasha, that he was on the B'liach Hadelet. He was leaning on the door. So he comes and he asks the following question. Batel, Mahu. What's the deed if the husband said, get ze batel? But he didn't say batel hu, right? Because all the lishonot that we mentioned before was, right, batel hu, right? Whatever he just says, batel. Yeah? Yeah. What's the halacha when he says batel? He doesn't add in the word. Does batel hu mean that it was already batel? No. But does it mean that it was batel mikvar, meaning batel already in the past, and therefore he didn't say anything, right? Because when you say the word hu, maybe hu means that it is batel, meaning that you could explain it in the future. When you just say it's batel, it's nothing. What do you mean it's nothing? Meaning it was nothing already beforehand. ככה מתפרש הלשון. ככה אתה מסביר את הלשון.
נשמע לי הוא כאילו החפץ, הדבר.
No, because when you, again, one more time, when you come and we already said that when you already come and you said the word batel, there's two meanings of batel. Mikanu laba or lemafrea, correct? That's what we just said before. So therefore, if you don't say who, maybe it's more mitparesh lashon that it's batel kvar. If I come and I say batel, it is a zeg batel.
אתה לא יודע מה בטל.
No, אפילו אם אני אומר get זה בטל, אבל אני אומר בטל הוא. כשאני אומר get זה בטל, it's more mashma maybe that I'm saying it was already batel. Meaning, don't pay attention to it. If I say batel hu, I'm annulling it now. But we don't know. Why? The Gemara answers teku. I don't know.
Now, no future.
Mikan ulaba, from now onwards. There's either from now onwards, right? Mikan ulaba, or lemafrea, meaning retroactively, ba'avar. So ba'avar does not help, right? Mikan ulaba does help. So if I did not use the terminology who, what is halacha? Says the Gemara, teku. We don't have an answer. We're not sure. That means the fact that you didn't say who, we're not sure. Amar of Sheshat, comes and he says, "Ve'amli matzita tanan." We say they learned it in the Braita. Get ze lo yo'il, or lo yotir, lo ya'azim, lo yishalach, lo yigaresh, ye cheres, ye kecheres, devarav kayamin. In any of these lashonot, right? He's basically annulling it mikan ulaba from now onwards. So if a person comes and he says this get, again he says get ze. But he says this get, lo yo'il, it's not going to help. Or lo yatir, it's not going to permit her. Lo ya'aziv, it's not going to abandon her. Right? Which means that kilu to let her go. Lo yishalach, it's not going to send it to her. Lo yigaresh, it's not going to divorce her. Ye kecheres should be like earthenware, like pottery. Ye kecheres should be like cheres. Varav kaimin, it's actually going to be batel. So he says, however though, what happens if he said eno mo'il? Right? Or eno matid, eno ma'aziv, eno meshaleach, eno megaresh, cheresu, kecheresu. Right? Lo amar klum. Why? Because this is all mashma, right? That it's not mashma that it's now. It's mashma that he's testifying about it. And therefore it doesn't help. Because remember, well, as we already mentioned at the beginning, the husband has no power to make it disqualified. If it's a kosher get, it's a kosher get. The only ones that could disqualify a get are the rabbis. Bedin. A bedin could disqualify a get. A husband cannot disqualify a get. Even if the husband comes running and he says, but I didn't write it, or I didn't give the command, then the bedin will investigate it, and then the bedin will annul it. But he has no power of annulling anything. Right? The husband is nothing here to annul something which is already into place. The only thing that he could do is he could annul it mikan ulaba from now onwards. So therefore, as long as he used the terminologies from now onwards, that yes. But if you use the terminology that it's already batel, or it's already doesn't help, we don't care. It doesn't help.
How are we going to prove that?
We're going to ask a question. Hareu cheres. Mahu. You remember we mentioned at the beginning, Yehe cheres should be cheres, or Yehe cheres was good. It should be like earthenware or like pottery. It's going to be okay. If he says, right, cheresu, that it's pottery, or kecheres, like pottery, it's not good. What happens if he says, harehu cheres, it is pottery? What's halacha? Do I say that it's mashma mikan ulaba, or is it in past tense? Remember one more time, past tense does not help. Future tense does help. What is halacha when you say harehu cheres? Amar le Ravina Ravacha bered Rava, says Ravina to Ravacha, the son of Rava, ve'amnilam tabim says Ravacha bered Rava le Ravashi, ma'ishna mi harehu hekdesh or harehu hefker. What's the difference between harehu cheres or hareu ekdesh or hareu hefker, right? We find many, many different times that these lishonot help to be makdish or to be mafkir something, which means because it's also lashonatid. So therefore, just like if a person comes and he says hareu hefker, it doesn't mean that it's hefker retroactively. It means it's hefker now, right? So if a person comes and says hareu ekdesh, it's ekdesh now. So the same thing, just like if a person says hareu ekdesh, hareu hefker, it's mikan ulaba, it's in the future tense, right? And that helps. So to the get, it should be for the future tense, and it should help. Okay? So then the Gemara says, okay, fine. Let's say a husband came and he annulled the get. How did he annul it? He said, it's not going to help. It's not going to do this. Oh, he said all the lishonot that it helps. Can he now get divorced with the same get? Or the get became annulled and it said it doesn't help? What? Says the Gemara, Rav Nachman says, you could divorce again with it. Yeah, Rav Sheshat says you cannot get divorced with it. The Hilchata Kavated Rav Nachman Medalacha is like Rav Nachman. The what? That the get that's small is not matel. One more time. What did I mention from the beginning? The husband has no power to annul the get. The get is a kosher get, right? Bet din can annul a get. The husband is not a bet din, right? The husband has no power to come into annul a get. The husband, what he could just do is he could put a block on it. How do you put a block on it, right? If I come and I say I want to cancel a check, what am I saying? I'm putting a block on the check. You say that the check is not good, right? You could say it's forged, but the bank is the one that puts a cancel on the check. The check, if the check was that you wrote it and you signed it, it's a good check. You could put a block on it, and then you could unblock it. They could still use the same check. Afterwards, they could just come and say, cash it in again. The check is still a good check. It's that you put a block on it. Why did you put a block on it? Because you didn't want to divorce her with this get. So you can't say this get's not going to help. But I'm going to ask you right now, is the get kosher? Of course it gets kosher. The get was never not kosher. Nobody annulled the get, right? He could say whatever you want. He could say that it doesn't help because he wants to put a block on it. But the get is kosher. So says Rav Nachman, and that's how we paskin, that no, you could actually use the same get afterwards to divorce with it. No problem. Yeah? So says the Gemara, any is it so? Right? Says 1 second. I thought that we paskin like Rabbi Yochanan. The Amar chozeret, that he says, that imagine right now a person that comes and he says to a woman, I'm going to give you money from now, and you're going to be married to me after 30 days. And she retracts. What happens if she retracts within the 30 days? Right? The Kiddushin is batel. Why? Because since she retracted before the Kiddushin, it's going to be okay. So same thing to do with the get. If he annulled it before the Kiddushin was chal, the get should be batel. And therefore it should disqualify her from coming and getting divorced with it. So says the Gemara, what are you asking? Hach yashta? Can you compare both cases? Hatam, dibur v'dibur. There, in the case of it's one dibur, neged another dibur, which means at the beginning she agreed to get married. That was done through what? Through dibur. Now also she's retracting through what? Through dibur. Therefore, ati dibur comes the words batel dibur and kanal a dibur. Hacha over here, nehi debatle leshlichute de shaliach, even though he's annulling the shliach in order to come, right? Because that was with a dibur, and now he's annulling it. Gita gufe mikabati. Can he actually come and be batel itself? The get is something. It's a chefes. It's something tangible. You can't annul the get. How do you annul the get? Yeah, exactly. It's you understand? The get is a good. It's a piece of paper. You can't annul the piece of paper. Word, I could take it back. I retract on my words. Yeah, a word you could retract. You can't retract on a get. A get is a piece of paper. It's already there. Fine. 2 dots. The 2 dots says, but Ishuna Yahoseh, at the beginning, the husband didn't even have to run after anybody. The husband comes, he sends a get. All of a sudden he retracts. What does he do? He goes in front of the local bedin and he says, you know what? I'm annulling the get. That's all they had to do. So Rabbi Gamliel came and he said, no, you can't do that anymore. Itmar was stated. How many people does he need in order to be mvatel this get? This is obviously before Rabbi Gamliel came and made the takana. You're not allowed to do this. How many people? Rav Nachman says in front of 2 people, and Rav Sheshat says in front of 3 people. Yeah, Rav Sheshat.
2 people.
What? Yeah, those are ID. Those are ID witnesses. Yeah, and Rav Sheshat says you need like 3 people. So Rav Sheshat says you need 3 people because it says bebetin. He could only do it in a betin, so you need 3 people. Rav Nachman said in front of 2 people, lebeitre nami betin karleg. Sometimes you have 2 people, which is also called a bedin, which we're going to prove in a minute. Amar Rav Nachman says, Mina minillah. How do I know this, the bemet? That sometimes 2 people could be called a bedin. The Trambas we learned in the Mishnah, Mosrani lipnechem, in the Pruzbul, it comes and it says, I gave it in front of you guys. Ploni uploni dayanim shemekom ploni. so and so, fulano, right? Mr. so and so, right? The dayanim in this place. Now, 1 second, right? This is only 2 people. It only says ploni twice. It doesn't say 3 times. And therefore, when you're giving over the pruzbul, in order to remember, the pruzbul is in order to collect after Shemitah, right? We just did it. Yeah. What is a pruzbul? You come and you give over your debt to the bedin, and by giving them over to bedin, now it allows you to collect your debts even after exactly. It's not going to be batel the chov, and therefore you could collect the chov even after Shemitah. So he comes and he says, here, 1 second, but there it's written 2 people. But according to Rav Sheshat, atu tana kiruch lalich shevelizen. Says what? The Tana is going to come and start counting the people? Really, Bemet, it was 3 dayanim, but it just wasn't like I said, it just says ploni a dayanim. But really, Bemet, there are 3. So fine. So Amar of Nachman comes and he says, Minamina, how do I know this? Right? We're on Lamigim and Mudalef, you're on the top. Tanam has learned on the Mishnah, dayanim chotmin lemata. The dayanim, they stand in the bottom. O edim, or is it dayadim? So my lover, we're not talking about dayanim, dunya dayadim, that the dayanim is going to be exactly like dayadim. Meaning just like edim, whenever the edim is going to be 2 witnesses, so too the dayanim are going to be 2 witnesses. Rav Sheshat says, no. Midi iria, can you compare both cases? Hakidita, no. If it's going to be dayanim, so you need 3. If it's going to be edim, it's going to be 2. So lama l'mitzin dayanim, lama l'mitzin. So why do I need to teach you both? Hakabash comes teach you. Deloshna katuv lashon dayanim tachat me'edim. Loshna katvu lashon edim tachat me'dayanim. There's no difference whether the pruzbul is written in lashon of dayanim and afterwards it was signed as edim, or if it was written as edim and then signed as dayanim. They're both going to be kosher. Which means both of them are going to be kosher, even though it's not going to be, right? That means it's basically like signed as like one is written as the other, meaning it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, that's what you're going to have. But you have again a machloke between Rav Nachman and Rav Sheshat. Is it going to be in front of, right, 2 people or in front of 3 people? Have a wonderful day.